Крутые парни по всей стране, кто связан дружбой с ВДВ. Такое братство, надежный щит, никто Россию не победит. ВДВ, с неба привет, ультрамариновый набок берет. Тельник с волной и море погон, с неба навеки десант обручен. ВДВ, сколько побед, из парашютов белый букет. Радугой мирной парят купола, слава десанту, честь и хвала. В Центральном парке салют в Москве, мечтают парни о ВДВ. Любым оружием владеть легко, знамя победы главней всего. ВДВ, с неба привет, ультрамариновый набок берет. Тельник с волной и море погон, с неба навеки десант обручен. ВДВ, сколько побед, из парашютов белый букет. Радугой мирной парят купола, слава десанту, честь и хвала. Честь и хвала. В горах, лесах атаку вихрем ведет десант, срываясь ливнем внезапно вниз. И только ставка по жизни жизнь. ВДВ, с неба привет, ультрамариновый набок берет. Тельник с волной и море погон, с неба навеки десант обручен. ВДВ, сколько побед, из парашютов белый букет. Радугой мирный парят купола, слава десанту, честь и хвала. ВДВ, с неба привет, ультрамариновый набок берет. Тельник с волной и море погон, с неба навеки десант обручен. ВДВ, сколько побед, из парашютов белый букет. Радугой мирный парят купола, слава десанту, честь и хвала. Честь и хвала.
Just beat the law, motherfucker.
De le Bouquet.
Bouquet
Welcome
all
back,
over.
like burners. We got a fun-filled show today. We've got a lot planned.
Hey, Uncle Bat, can we watch some Uncle Corn Pop videos today too?
You can watch President Uncle Joe Corn Pop doing his thing.
We've so creepy.
We've got a couple Supreme Court decisions to talk about. We've got a new revelation about COVID, and then we're also like continually inching towards nuclear war with Russia and possibly China too. So it's a fun time to be alive.
The one thing that really stuck out to me today in this crazy ass world was so. There was a protest outside of the Supreme Court because they were hearing arguments on the student debt loan or student loan debt stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a solution. Okay. So people like my buddy Matt, who are ranchers, who provide vital resources to the population, who have college debt, maybe a fireman, hell, use it as an incentive to get more police. Choose whatever price range you want, 10 to 15. Have those people's college debt erased.
Yeah,
like
if you're a productive member of society,
yes,
like you produce shit.
It's because the reason I thought that because I looked at the protest outside the Capitol, and it looks like all kids who are either in college or who are like just fresh out of college, like they haven't. I'm sure maybe they have a job. I don't think they have a career yet, so they haven't even tried to pay this thing off yet. They haven't.
Yes. Well, and also stop guaranteeing federally student loans, because that's what started this whole nonsense was the federal guarantee of student loans. And then the colleges jacked their tuition up and started adding a bunch of nonsense to their curriculum and added more administrators and whatever to deal with the federal student debt, when it used to be just an accountant that you gave a check. And if you had to take a loan, you had to go to a bank and go through, credit check, all that shit.
That's what my wife did.
Yeah.
She for PA school, she went and got a loan, and she got out enough money to live off of it for 2.5 years, and we are paying that off now. And I'm not saying, hey, this is a dude who's a political science history major with a minor in economics and didn't go into law school or teaching, but somehow I still made something out of that degree.
Yeah.
A good paying job now. It's in a bureaucracy, I admit, but hey, I report all the shit of what's going on with, like there's reporting standards. But I'm not saying it's the most, like, if I had student loans, if it was you versus me, I'd be like, yep, give it to Matt. Matt is like, I'm a productive member of society. Matt is a vital person in society. He's bringing us food.
Right. Like it's well, and on the like, on to take the lefty point of view, like a reasonable lefty point of view. Yeah, did we get hosed on our college education? Little bit. Little bit. And were we kind of like ramrodded into that position? Absolutely. Like that was what we were told. Like, you get a job or you're gonna be serving burgers at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're like, you will not amount to shit. And then you look at like
something I don't want to flip burgers.
Yeah, but then now you look at some of our buddies that didn't go to college, and they're like mechanics, welders, electricians, plumbers, trade jobs that they make good fucking money doing.
Yeah.
And they made some of them made pretty shitty money to start out with, but they also had at least a 4-year head start on us in the workforce. And I mean, not that I wasn't in the workforce during college, because college is so goddamn expensive. You had to, if your parents didn't set aside for you and like have that all lined out for you, like, you better work and also take student loans.
And even if your parents did do that, you still had to get a job.
Mm-hmm. Right. So like I get the frustration and like the people that are like, and a ton of people, if you did like just erase their student debt, they'd just be like, holy shit, it's like a new lease on life. And I'm talking like productive members of society. I'm not talking some feminist studies activist who has a $100,000 degree and works as a barista, because that's the only skills she has. But I'm talking like engineers, doctors. I'm not even going to put lawyers in that productive because they've kind of helped us get into this position.
Well, even on that,
lawyers, but
we have a nurse shortage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. What could be a better seller?
Like, well, and also like make nursing school without all the bullshit. Just like make them nurses and not make them take a bunch of all these like core credits that are these elective credits that don't really, I mean, sure, they enrich your life experience, but is it like they add a full year at least onto college just with all the elective bullshit, for your degree? And
didn't you take bowling? Was it you?
Golf. I took golf twice.
Like, okay.
Evan took bowling, I think.
High school, yes. You could throw some of those bullshit in because there's only so much high school. College,
yeah, don't make them required. I'm not saying don't offer them, but if they're not pulling that course isn't pulling its weight, because like I don't know. There was a lot of bullshit. Like, I had to take a health class and just like, this is not high school or middle school, like we're college. We get it by now.
Let's be honest, Matt. You still don't know how to properly wash your dick right.
Oh,
Okay.
I definitely do. I give it the old rub down. And
I'm just
I
picturing. I never took health class in college, but all I'm picturing is like a banana with a condom. That's
there was that.
was
And
in
and
college.
yeah, and
Uh,
then there was also the watching of a live birth, which I walked out on. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that.
if
Um,
I was in that class with you, I'd ask like the stupidest questions, like 5-year-old questions. Why,
I
why do girls have boobs?
and then we had to write an essay, um,
Yeah.
taking either the for or against position on abortion, and like write an
Oh
essay about it.
boy.
Yeah, which I don't know. And to her credit, the professor was cool as shit. She was obviously kind of a left leaning. I would say she was probably a rabid lefty, but she was a reasonable professor. It seems like we used to have
Yeah.
reasonable professors.
Every time I hear somebody kind of diss on like professors, I agree with them a little bit. But like CSU was so good. I took
Hmm.
political science. Every single one of those guys were I'm guessing pretty far left.
Yeah.
My political theory professor ran for city council. Like he
Hmm.
was very liberal, but they never like I was always conservative leaning, had no animosity, challenged me where they needed to, accepted
Hmm.
arguments where they needed to. Like they were great. Like CSU.
Well, I went into, like, I think it was U.S. Government. It was a freshman class. One of the like 500 seat auditoriums. I forget. It was
Mm-hmm.
over in one of the engineering auditoriums, I think. But um, we had this we had this contest because it was Bush Kerry, wasn't it? In '04, yeah. And so
Yes.
that was our first our first election period that we got to vote in, but it was also presidential election.
Remember
And
Bill?
yeah,
Every time I think of Bush, I think of Bill.
yeah,
Fucking jerk.
fucking Bill, that guy.
Sorry.
There, we
Keith.
had we had our share of hippies too, so it was but yeah, they had a contest, and you had to like predict the ballot for Fort Collins. And so it was I mean, I guess it was it was like statewide elections for Colorado. So it had been Senate and president, and I forget I think we just stuck with federal politics. So it was Senate, president, and then I think we
Todd
had to
Thatcher.
guess. I don't know if we had to do just one representative, or if we had to do all four. I think it was four at the time. And anyway, and there was something else we had to vote on, and our that we had to guess. And I came in second place. I was I, I, the only one I had wrong was I picked Pete Coors to win, but
Oh yeah.
Ken Salazar won.
Pete. I love
And
Pete. You know what? Pete Coors was Joe Biden before Joe Biden was president.
see, I
Like
still
that
don't
was
know
Pete
anything
Coors.
about. I know my dad hated him, but I voted for Ken Salazar just because I knew Ken Salazar, or at least I'd met him several times.
Dude, Pete Coors was
Man,
he was the total John Fetterman. Like I feel like that
we
he
got John
like
Fetterman to talk about too.
oh fuck, I know. Before we get into that, can you please show the this is what started me down this like thinking about the debt stuff is this fucking clip. Can you show the teachers union fucking president going nuts on the steps?
Yeah, I
What's
think
fucking
so.
hilarious? Okay, so all of that, take your opinion all out of there, right?
Hmm.
Fucking, it's unconstitutional. Even like Democrats are, and like the people, like there's Omar, the squad was down there, and they're just talking about how it's the right thing to do, not the thing under the law. It's not lawful. It's just like, oh, you're cowards,
Yeah.
like, and it's hilarious how they're talking about debt. They're talking about debt, but then have no fucking issue with the $31 trillion that's going on. Let's talk about debt this way, but not the other way.
Right. It's
Simply stunning.
simply stunning.
Simply stunning. I can't remember if it was the Instagram. It might have been the
I think there we go.
And it didn't go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. All of a sudden,
angry.
And frankly, and this is what really pisses me off, during the pandemic, we understood that small businesses were hurting, and we helped them, and it didn't go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. Big businesses were hurting, and we helped them, and it didn't go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. All of a sudden, when it's about our students, they challenge it, the corporations challenge it, the student loan lenders challenge it. That is not right. That is not fair. And that is what we are fighting as well when we say cancel student debt. And frankly, and this is what really pisses me off.
That is a total, what was his, Howard Dean? That was a total Howard Dean. Oh,
what's hilarious about that argument is how much of the student debt that they're actually forgiving happened during COVID. I'd like to see that percentage.
Right. There's
like who the fuck was taking out loans to go to college during COVID? I feel there was some, but it was probably on a smaller scale. So that fucking argument makes no sense.
You couldn't even go to college during that. I mean, it was all online. And the the bunch of the universities got a ton of pushback from it because they're like, wait, you raised my tuition and it's online.
Right. Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, like just like war is a racket, just like finance is a racket, college is a racket too. I mean, not saying that it's not useful. I think it's a very useful institution, but it is a racket, man. When you get to, especially like COVID really exposed a lot of that shit because it was it became very apparent that like, oh, you guys are fleecing us as students, you know, like you are absolutely fleecing us.
What is our generation? Our generation where the high school diplomas is a graduate's degree. It's a BA.
Yeah.
BA.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody has a bachelor's now, and
you know what? Like I'm not even trying to say my life is not cushy. I'm perfectly happy. We make enough money. I'm happy. But
yeah,
but it was hard finding a job. It was fucking hard.
See, that was one thing is like the 08. So you graduated 08 and I graduated a semester later. I guess it was still the 08. But you graduated in spring and I graduated in fall. And right when the economy just took a shit. And also caused by the government intervention in the housing market and and finance. I mean, just like it seems like every time government's involved in some industry, like it kind of goes to shit, you know?
Have we seen this before, McKinley?
It seems like we've seen this before. Yeah. But that's one thing is agriculture is a very it's a pretty, I mean, it's, if you're owning shit, it's very volatile. But if you just looking for work in the ag industry, it's pretty much I wouldn't say recession proof. You can look at the Dust Bowl and say that it's there has its issues, but for the most part, if the weather's decent and like there's crops, whether animal or plant to be harvested, there is a job. And so I had no problem getting a job out of college. I spent a summer since I've graduated college being unemployed, and I was still day working, so like it wasn't like I was completely unemployed, but I didn't have a a steady paying job. It was just day work stuff.
You should have stuck with dancing, dude. You were
I should have hooking on the side.
Like Matt used to come on to tip drill, and my dick was never harder.
Never. It was raging.
It was like Brad in a strip club type hard.
You still couldn't see it past the pubic hair, but it was there.
Matt's a shower, not a grower.
Yeah, so you were saying earlier, like, you're starting to come around to my way of thinking on this Ukraine deal.
Fuck,
Would you like to explain?
I don't even know what to fucking think, dude. Like, I heard the numbers today. I'm having such a hard time with it. And I read about the war in 2012 when it started, and I can't figure out if, like, so there were separatist groups in Crimea and the Donbass, but like there was one protest and it was 2,000 people. Like, I don't know how big the pro-Russian side is down there, but I'm starting to think it's bigger than I thought.
It's quite a bit bigger than you thought.
And then, like, on top of that, like, what is the U.S. sent $80 billion? Okay, the next biggest one, I can't remember who it was. Might have been Germany. Was like $8 billion or something like that. And then after that was 4, and after that's 2. There was one country, I can't remember. They sent them over 20 like artillery rounds.
And like $50.
Well, it was not artillery rounds. 20 large. I can't remember the ones that shoot off the artillery rounds.
Oh, like the howitzers and stuff.
The howitzers. They sent 12 of them, and that was all they had. Like, that's their whole stuff. Like,
yeah,
dude. At some point, I'm starting to come around. Oh God, I'm about to say That's At some point, these countries are going to have to pull more than what the United States. But then I was like, well, if we do that, Germany's going to build up their army. We've seen that fucking show before. And it's terrifying too. Like, thank God Trudeau. Nobody respects Trudeau, and he doesn't have an army, because that dude is straight up dictator fucking material. If I ever fucking saw anybody.
Oh yeah, it's
Ugh, God, get the libertarian out of my mouth.
Speaking of dictators, so like that's the thing. When this whole shit popped off, I went down the rabbit hole and was like, all right, so what? Because I don't know much about Ukraine. I knew they had nukes at the end of the Cold War, and I knew that, like, there's always been like kind of something with Ukraine there, but I didn't know much about it. Like that Cold War stuff can get pretty dry and boring pretty quick, because it's just a lot of like posturing more than anything, and then the arms race and whatever. But the best meme I've ever seen about it is you've seen the picture of like the two cats like standing on their hind legs looking at each other.
Yeah.
And so they on one side you had the cat with an American flag, and the other side a cat with a hammer and sickle, and it says the American cat says, "The fuck they doing over there?" And then it just says the same thing in Russian on the other side. And it's like the Cold War summed up in one picture.
Pretty close.
It was pretty accurate, not all the way accurate, but it was like a good summation, really.
And then the Nord Stream 2 shit. Like, they put out a good story before it, but now it's nobody can conclude what's going on. And then that report from that reporter who, what did he do? The massacre back in the day.
The My Lai massacre. He did the Abu Ghraib story, and then like he's well known for breaking these type of stories.
He's done some stinkers, I think.
I think so too, but
like something about the Pakistanis had Osama bin Laden hostage or something weird. It was just real fucking weird. But then I'm like, man, They talked about this story barely on, just like CNN and MSNBC barely talked about it. So they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we'll address it," but nobody. They just say it's false. They don't like bring up why.
No, not at all.
All
They just
all they
say
bring
it's
up all they bring up is
absolutely
those
false.
stinker stories that he had.
Hmm. Yeah,
Which
they just completely look past the fact that he exposed the My Lai massacre, which was a big fucking deal. And then the Abu Ghraib deal, which is also a pretty big fucking deal. And like regardless of how you feel about it, just like exposing that stuff was a big deal, and he was right on them. So you're just like he does have some, you know, like some respect from a lot of people, you know, like the guy's, yeah, is he wrong sometimes? Sure, but like if you look at what he's been right on, you're like, you gotta give him some sort of credit.
And with the tinfoil hat in mind, I always think whenever we talk about quote unquote conspiracy theories, all I can think of is when I was younger in high school having a conversation with my dad about Kennedy being shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I always talked to him. I was like, "Well, you think it's conspiracy theory?" He's like, "No, Oswald shot him." And like my dad, he's an engineer. He doesn't. He can see through. Well, when he was younger, he could see through bullshit. And they had this guy convinced that but after all the crap that's comes out about like the CIA and the mob and shit like that, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And the fact that they just keep that shit classified over and over and over,
like a little suspicious, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, we got to talk about the Tucker Carlson deal with the January 6th stuff too.
And no aliens. Have you noticed how the aliens shit has calmed down lately?
Right. You know, like we had the Chinese spy balloon, which they later admitted like they saw it take off and it hit bad weather, and it actually probably was just a weather balloon that strayed over us.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and then immediately they go on high alert, and they end up shooting down what essentially amounted to like a 3-foot happy birthday balloon. I mean, it was a little more complex than that, but it was like a hobbyist weather balloon.
Isn't it the most Joe Biden thing ever?
It really is. And man, did you see how quick the conservatives went on the warpath when that shit happened? Like oh my God, there's
fuck the shit at home. Fuck the shit at home. We're fucking blowing shit up.
Fucking Biden, you ain't gonna shoot down this goddamn Chinese balloon.
Speaking of our fearless leader, would you please pull up that rambling that I sent over to you?
And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson, military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. She went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she didn't want comfortable. But I'm not joking.
Not joking.
And I had a nurse named Pearl.
I mean, we are
Pearl Nelson, military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school.
Of the American empire. We're not causing the downfall. I mean, like we played our part a little bit, but like in the grand scheme of things, we haven't done shit. But we're sitting here on the outskirts of town, just fucking watching it burn.
You know what? I guaranteed happened here. Joe remembered one of the good old days when he got a massage at one of those special places.
Yeah,
he's confusing the stories.
He probably went in for a checkup when he was a senator, and he's like, I'm Senator Joe Biden. How about you suck my dick?
Question. What did the nurse really whisper in his ear?
I don't know.
I got it. Your balls are showing.
You have prostate cancer.
Not joking.
I'm not joking. Maybe that's where he got the whisper from.
I
She
was like,
whispered in his ear, and he was like, boom! Just immediately he came his pants, and then like ever since then he's like, man, that's powerful. I
can't believe he went through a speech where he actively said whisper, and he didn't fucking whisper. He's fucking losing it, Joe.
He's Ron Burgundy at 80.
Oh my God, yes he is.
Oh, and apparently apparently Jill Biden confirmed that he was running for president, or running for re-election.
Yeah, because his puppets want absolute power again.
But he hasn't filed papers or anything yet, so
maybe they're in a box in his garage.
Maybe. You couldn't find him behind all the classified documents. Oh, you notice how that just kind of went away?
Yeah.
It just went away. And I'm not sure what's worse, like the fact that everything is classified or the fact that everybody has classified documents everywhere. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. These are not impressive people at all.
It's just, the skiff. Like, you're not supposed to take documents. If you're fucking some Joe Schmo taking documents, you get jailed. Like, yeah. Do they not check them? I feel like they're like middle schoolers hiding fucking cheat notes in their fucking pockets. Like, how do they get out with it?
Like, just for instance, Edward Snowden is still stuck in Russia because they're after him for releasing classified documents, like, which served a purpose to show the American people that the NSA was spying on literally fucking everybody without a warrant. And yeah, so he got like essentially vanquished to Russia, so he doesn't
vanquished.
And here, and also, like, a part of me is like, who the fuck is the FBI? Like, you have the sitting president and the former president both under investigation on just your whims. Like, fuck the FBI, dude.
Christopher Wray, Brett Baer had an interview with him today. That dude's such a douche nozzle. Fucking Brett asked him, like, can you say there were no FBI agents planted on January 6th? Mm-hmm. And he used this line 3 or 4 times to dodge shit. He's like, well, I can't talk about it because it's an ongoing investigation. But you shouldn't read anything into that because blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you sneaky
which
fuck.
Means there is absolutely FBI agents involved. Yeah. And to see the lefty outrage at Tucker Carlson getting all the January 6th footage, which some of them have a point. The ones that made the point that it should be released to everyone, I agree 100%. But that's not the main outrage. Is they're like, it's putting Capitol Police in harm's way, and these are the people that were like on full bulls on parade against police just 2 years ago.
Well, and CNN and MSNBC talking about shit that shouldn't be leaked is fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
like Adam Schiff fucking sending little tidbits to CNN and MSNBC. Just the balls, the fucking balls.
How was it that CNN just happened to be at Roger Stone's place when they raided his house at 4:00 in the morning? Like, you just happened to have a news crew over at Roger Stone's house at 4:00 in the morning.
And I'm sure my buddy Matt feels the same way. We think that there's some terrible people. Like Roger Stone, I don't think is a great person.
No.
Having said that, though, we believe that no matter how big or little of a piece of shit you are, you should have equal protections under the law.
Like, is he a U.S. citizen? Then he deserves due process. I mean, yeah.
It's
and
Bob rule, man. They want pitchforks, bro.
it's insane, and I can't tell if it's because they are like they're slipping power or they're just like true monsters. I like haven't decided like if they're like just doing everything they can to maintain power. And I think part of that was the Trump derangement syndrome comes from that, because he was like the first one to call a lot of people on bullshit or to say the quiet part out loud, like the fact that there is a military industrial complex.
What was the one like? Oh, dude, don't tell us that shit. What he was like? Oh, you should see some of the shit I see. I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, stop it.
Yeah, it's and I do wonder what Trump's classified documents were. I'm very curious about that, as if there was obviously something there, because just from Trump himself essentially admitting it, just like, I do classified that, and which I don't know if is brilliant or incredibly stupid.
Those are the nuclear codes, sir. I don't care.
Yeah. I just want a selfie. He's got a selfie of him holding up the nuclear codes.
He's got a selfie of his dick hovering over the nuclear button.
You know what? I would say pardon him for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Fucking remember those fucking cards?
Yeah.
If he had one of his, like a cartoon of his dick hovering over
the actual nuclear launch button,
like over a country, I would. Yep.
I would vote him dictator for life just because of the hilarity,
You know that motherfucker. He's just so rich and been in charge so long. He throws out ideas like that, and like his people just gotta shoot it down.
Well,
no, I swear, half America wants to see my dick.
There's something about a loose cannon, which Trump definitely is, but there was reports that Trump told Putin that if he invaded Ukraine, he was going to nuke Moscow. And I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but that, like, I'd heard that somewhere, and I was like, that is something Trump would do. But guess what? Putin didn't invade Ukraine under Trump's
I know
on Trump's watch. It's like, there's something about that.
we don't know what this fucking guy's gonna do.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I'm not sold on DeSantis as president. If like, I like a lot of the stuff he's done in Florida. I really like him as a governor. He seems like a pretty good one, but DC is a whole different place, man. And I'm not even saying I like Trump as president, but I think particularly, I guess the good thing about this is both of the two front runners for the GOP nomination are coming out hard against this Ukraine shit, which they should be.
I don't know why I brought this up. I saw a couple of TikToks, and this is I think it's because DeSantis has done some stuff at the state level, and I was thinking of the trans stuff. I saw a couple TikToks claiming that if you aren't willing to bang a trans person, you're transphobic. Well, and I was thinking, like, well, if you don't prefer dick, then you're straight phobic. Like, it was such a weird fucking argument. Like,
it's
if you don't fuck us, you hate us.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, really fucking weird. I don't understand. I still don't particularly get the gay thing. Like, it's one of those things where I just, like, I'm never gonna understand being attracted to another dude that way. No. Like, I'm never gonna get it, but I don't care
unless Matt's stripping. That's the only time.
Well, I mean, guy, $20 is $20.
And let's be honest, it's more lust than love. So
Capitalism, baby. It's just let's make some money. And it's also why I'm like, hey, keep the government the fuck out of it, all right? It's none of your business how I make my money. None of your business. I'm trying to.
Sorry, I had random tangent thought.
I had to check what my password was for Twitter. I've never
accepting all comes 69.
Possibly. I hate Google a lot, but god damn it, their stuff is so much better than a lot of the other shit. Like the Chrome browser is pretty good, even though I know they're spying on me all the time. It's still functionally very good.
I mean, how many times can you see me pantsless in front of the screen?
I mean, as many as you want, really, but what? There was something I was going to look up on Twitter. Oh well, it'll come to me, or it won't. Fetterman. Let's talk about Fetterman.
That fucking guy, dude. He's so okay. This is what I've heard. He had a stroke. Went in the hospital. Got out of the hospital. Now he's in the hospital for depression, and his wife and kids moved to fucking
went on vacation. Yeah.
I know that's my.
They pulled a Northern Ted Cruz.
I know when Katie's really sad and depressed, we have to commit her. I want to take my boys out to Arizona. And
you boys like too. Mexico? Yeah. So we were told that it was he was just having trouble hearing. Like his he had to have the teleprompter because the auditory process was not lining up with what his brain was reading. So he can't hear, right? Like, no, he's just having a hard time keeping up.
I bet.
And then you're like, oh, then his speech might be a little bit off too. And you're like, okay, so speech is off.
I'm sorry.
Surely he can form a sentence, and then
unless you saw the fucking debate, it was so bad, so bad, and I still can't find the whole thing.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube. I watched the whole.
I know, but more of like if somebody who hasn't seen it wants to investigate. When maybe somebody says a claim like, "Oh, you should have seen the debate," and if they Google it, all they get are these little news clips of the 3 times he put together a
full sentence,
fragment of a sentence.
Oh, and then like shortly after, he's at a rally or something, and he's like, "And the Eagles so much better than the Eagles," and yeah, and he's supposed to be a Pittsburgh guy, so he's supposed to be talking shit on the Eagles, but that's the only team he mentioned, and that guy is not all there. He's not going to make it through his term, I don't think. I don't know if he'll make it through this year. Like, that guy is in bad shape.
I've never seen so many prime examples of the Dick Cheney syndrome.
Oh,
in election, like Joe Biden, fucking John Fetterman. Like, there's got to be somebody behind the scenes because he ain't making decisions.
No, and like say what you will about Nancy, but like she's
there,
coherent most of the time. Like, she's drunk most of the time, but like she's coherent. And and like same with McConnell. He's ancient as shit too, but like McConnell, Chuck Grassley, but they're both like coherent and
dude, McConnell looks
intelligible.
like he's gonna die any day. Every time I see that dude, his lips are like more and more blue and purple, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this guy's gonna croak.
he's got like no blood flow going, or like no oxygen in his blood at all.
And he's still in better shape than John Fetterman.
He is literally a turtle, you know. He's just like his blood flow doesn't work the same. He's cold blooded, you know. He has to regulate his own body temperature, or he has to use his environment to regulate his body temperature. And it's cold in Washington right now.
He's not sitting on the rock soaking up the sun right now.
Come summer, those lips are gonna be red as fuck. All right. Yeah, what
as red as Lindsey Graham's ladybugs.
Lindsey Graham's ladybugs. That fucking guy.
What now?
I just him always like he is the biggest warmonger, and he is the biggest fairy on the face of the earth. I've got nothing against gay dudes at all. That guy is the epitome of an in the closet effeminate gay man. And yet he is also like the biggest war hawk out there, and he has never truly served in the military a day in his life, and he never will, but he has no problem sending your actual like grunts to go off and fight and die for something stupid, and he's gonna make just a fuckload of money off of it too.
He looks like if Woody got granted the wish of becoming a real boy and became a creepy ass old man.
So
it was almost like a curse. Like,
yeah,
I really want to be a real boy. Okay.
Yep.
Lindsey Graham,
Southern gay Pinocchio,
the Southern Belle.
You know, and so Nikki Haley's running for president now. Did you see that?
I did see that.
What's your thoughts on Nikki Haley?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's the libertarian growing in me, but God.
Hey, once you see the sausage for how it's made, it's pretty gross. And
like Tulsi Gabbard, every time she comes on, I'm just fully erect.
She's so hot.
And it's like, yeah, tell me about that isolation.
Oh, and she's come around on gun rights too. So I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Come on, tell me more.
Show me some videos of you shooting guns in leggings. You know, like let me see that again.
I do have to say, I hope she gets rid of the streak in her hair. Not that it's bad looking; it's just very distracting.
It is distracting. I mean, I like it kind of, but it is very distracting. Yeah, you're not wrong on that. But Nikki Haley, I've described her as Lindsey Graham with bigger balls. I think they're pretty much cut and dry the same person, except she's far more masculine.
How big of balls does she have, Matt?
Well, I think we'd have to ask the male prostitute. We've kind of just settled on it being Filipino, right?
Yes, we have.
I think the male prostitute was a Filipino.
You know what? We didn't ask though. Is it straight up male Filipino prostitute, or is it ladyboy?
That's a good. You know, I think nowadays it's probably ladyboy.
Okay.
Because
I guess with Lindsey Graham in mind, what his preference would be.
I think his preference would be like a strong, like a proud gay Filipino pool boy. But I think in today's times, you know, where like he's still like, you know, he's kind of trying to play the John McCain role now, where he's a maverick. You know, he'll reach across the party lines, and to, you know, for a little progressive street cred, he goes with the lady boy.
Yeah, always thinking about the next election. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because that's all that matters is the next war and the next election for that guy. And those, they don't have to be, you know, separate entities. They could be all one thing for Lindsey Graham.
I tell you, dude, Like, I've been listening to the Bible on my way to work quite a bit lately. The the signs are pretty terrifying. Let's take all of that. Like, whatever you believe biblically, I believe in God and Jesus. Let's take that out. The most terrifying is just this group of people who have been
That's the
elected
thing.
for so long, and they're still getting elected.
Well, the part that just like horrifies me. So say what you will about FDR as like his ideology and how much he like turned us on the path towards socialism. That guy was a competent leader. He was a leader of men. And between him and Truman, they brought us through World War II, which should have never been fought because like Germany should have never been punished the way they were in World War I. But like put all the back events aside, like that was the last like war that was kind of truly worth fighting. And I'm like I'm rabidly anti-war these days. Not that I don't like a fight. I just like I've seen the effects of war, post-war firsthand, and it's not good, and especially like when they didn't fight for anything worth fighting for. That's the thing that scares me the most. We've got our entire generation of guys has a ton of dudes that just went over, lost life, limb, and their mental health for oil, Halliburton,
oil.
What the fuck
Bitch, you
ever,
cooking?
Yeah, exactly. Bitch, you cooking? and we're rapidly approaching that again. And I've got several nephews. I've got plenty of young men that listen to this show that are fighting age males. And if we're gonna have a major war in Europe, land war in Europe, there is no way we're getting through that without a draft. Like, no fucking way. And I don't want to see that shit happen again. That's why I've been talking about this Ukraine shit, because it's not going to end good for anybody. And
so I was asking. So I heard a report that Zelensky banned all like opposition parties.
mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, with your knowledge, did FDR ever ban any parties, or did UK ban any parties during World War II?
I don't know. I don't think so, because they had rigorous debate in Parliament, I know, and we had.
Yeah, because we still had some antis.
Oh yeah, like most of the country was anti-war until Pearl Harbor got attacked. And if you want to go down to, I mean, that's one of the earlier conspiracy theories that that Roosevelt knew, and I think there's pretty good evidence that he knew it was coming.
Even like I remember our professors, whenever they talked about it, like, yes, he saw it as an altruistic thing, but there's no way, since like Japan was just needed oil and they embargoed them basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that there wasn't just a little bit like, yeah, they're going to try to pop us.
Yeah.
But yeah, knowing about Pearl Harbor directly, but in the whole grand scheme of things, the leadership shouldn't have been that surprised by it, which they probably
no, and I mean, let's face it, Hitler actually was crazy. I don't think Putin's crazy. I think he's got
he's just old school. He's just fucking old school. He's that old school.
They're still fighting Soviet war. Like they have not I mean, they've updated their technology, but their tactics are still old school Soviet.
Literally just throw bodies.
Yeah. And when you look, it's hard to find any like decent numbers of casualties coming out. Like the numbers are all over the fucking place because nobody's reporting. And also Zelensky essentially shut down the media too. Also started arresting members of the Russian Orthodox clergy, which,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And this fucking geezer that we have in charge has the fucking balls to lecture us about democracy over in Ukraine. You're like, where's the democracy, dude? Like, it's a 50-50 call here whether people support sending money over there, but you send them anyways. Like none of us were consulted on that. Nobody asked like, hey, this is what you want. No, it's just like all these fucking cronies of the defense contractors are like, yep, send them all the weapons. And then you're telling us it's for fucking democracy.
What I worry about is, oh, go ahead.
You got a bunch of fucking neo-Nazis as like the main force. Like, there's not a ton of neo-Nazis, but they're there, and that's like the brunt of your like elite, soldier units are fucking neo-Nazis, and you're banning media, opposition parties, and like an entire branch of the Christian religion. Where's the democracy?
Yeah. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I just like, man, I cannot get behind that. Honestly, if they were to say we're gonna invade Mexico tomorrow to get that shit under control, especially like coming, like, I don't know if any of these allegations coming through about Katie Hobbs and like all the Arizona officials. Have you heard about that one?
Is that the one who? No, Katie Hobbs. Refresh.
She's the governor of Arizona at the moment. Okay. She just got elected.
Snowflake, Rice, Snow. Who was the one who was running?
Carrie Lake.
Lake. I knew it was some type of water.
Yeah. Carrie
no,
Lake.
I haven't heard about that. I knew something was going down, but I didn't hear exactly.
So there was allegations made and like some sort of evidence, and I haven't dug into it. I listened to a couple of podcasts, but I haven't dug into it myself. But essentially, she was involved in money laundering for the Sinaloa cartel. Through
who
was? Katie Hobbs, the current governor of Arizona.
What?
Plus like the current Secretary of State, who's a Republican. And I think that's the case. And it was all through like and it goes way deeper, like also goes into the university system, where people that have never existed are on paper have paid money to the university, but the university never received that money, and the person who received the degree and paid tuition never existed. and it's just it's classic like mafia money laundering shit, cartel shit, but directly tied with like the highest levels of Arizona government, including the current governor, who there was also some sort of like backdoor to like change voter rolls too. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know how much of any of it is true, but if even a fraction of it's true, it's a big fucking deal. And so, yeah, like if you told me tomorrow, like we're invading Mexico and like cleaning shit up there, like I may not be for it, but I'm not going to be nearly as against it as I am going to war in fucking Ukraine. Because that at least makes sense. At least some sense,
Right.
And that's not even to bring in the whole just cartel problem that we have, the immigration problem, but like just that deal with the money laundering scheme that is alleged, like that's enough to be like, yeah, maybe we do need to go down there and crack some skulls,
Isn't George Soros from Ukraine?
I believe so.
You know what? It's funny that to bring this up. Like, I remember on political campaign in like 2012. I don't know if I remember this correctly or not, but there was something like my boss had talked. We were talking about like potential things coming up, and I don't know if they knew the group. There was some group going down to Ukraine to help out in the election. Like I remember
like
this
right
specifically.
when the coup happened, essentially.
Yeah, and now I think about it, I was like, and I could see this person doing some shit like this. They were very
Well, have you noticed lately there's been like some rumblings in mainstream media about how the current president of Mexico is pretty corrupt. Like he's doing some shit with their elections down there that
what Mexican president isn't?
well, exactly. But supposedly they're how the article that I read, it was like, and Mexico's well known for their election process and well respected. And I was like,
No,
since when? Since when has that been the case?
that sounds like a line from old Wikipedia.
Do you know who the ambassador to Mexico is?
The ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guess.
Yep. And I read an article about him, how he was in a beef with the Mexican president because he was friendly with this group that was opposed to Obrador, the Manuel Lopez, Antonio Manuel Lopez Obrador, something like that. You know, freaking Mexicans, they got their names. There's 17 names just to identify them. But anyway,
And
Obrador.
then you have McKinley.
Yep. I almost wore that shirt tonight, but it's not Patty's Day yet, so I can't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Have you showed the listeners your shirt?
No, I just sent it to a handful of people.
We should go out on St. Patty's. You wear that shirt. I wear the Irish flag that says honorary Mexican.
I like it.
We'll be the most popular people at the fucking bar, as usual.
So. As usual, yeah. But yeah, I guess AMLO is what they call him because nobody wants to say his whole fucking name, and you know what? I don't disagree with that, so I'm going to call him AMLO. But he was pissed at Ken Salazar because of this like activist group that was, you know, like opposed him, funded by the State Department. And he wanted them out of the country, or he wanted the State Department to stop funding him. And Salazar essentially told him to go pound sand. And I said this here a while back. I said, don't be surprised if there's rumblings about some sort of regime change in Mexico soon. And now all of a sudden you're seeing articles in the paper, not like I said, not a lot, because Mexico's not Ukraine. We're not in, you know, actively funding a war over there yet.
Yes.
Overtly, probably. But now you're starting to see articles about how this current president is corrupt and whatnot. And I'm sure he is. I mean, it's fucking Mexico, man. Everything's corrupt. Which, you know, also like Ukraine. Did you hear a couple of weeks ago how Zelensky like fired half of his cabinet for corruption?
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like,
that's the thing that started me down this was I heard some corruption charges there, but don't worry.
Yeah, it's not like there's any reporting about Ukraine being corrupt ever.
I remember something. So you know how I was talking about the Donbass and Crimea, and how I was wondering what the support was like down there. Also buried in that article is apparently there's a bunch of Russian oligarchs that live in that area. So you know those motherfuckers have so much influence over that population.
Oh fuck yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
So well, the moral of the story, it's all fucked on each way. There's no right side.
Exactly.
There's
like
none.
And like the end of the day, it's not our fucking fight. Like that's the biggest part of it is like it is okay to not get involved in a fight between two raging assholes because that's what we're dealing with. Like both sides are fucked. Ukraine has been one of the most corrupt countries on earth for a long time. And it doesn't help that they have another one of the most corrupt countries on earth right on their border, and they used to be a part of, you know, and they're still like very intermingled.
Matt, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Mm-hmm. But I don't want to fight for any one of those assholes. So fuck them.
Bug them.
Fuck them. Yeah. So anyway, like it just, I thought it was curious. Just the same way it's curious how we've got all this posturing against China here lately, and then bam, just this week or last week, they the Department of Energy, which seems like an odd choice to release this news.
You know what? I was reading it. Apparently, they have all these like specialized departments.
Yeah,
didn't really.
I didn't either, and so yeah, we'll get into that. But breaking news:
Do tell.
COVID probably came from the Wuhan lab. It leaked from there somehow.
The scandal.
Yeah, we should call it the lab leak hypothesis or something like that. Yeah, lab leak theory. Is that what we should call it?
And I'm not saying I've seen any of this data. I'm not saying I'm confirming this. But what's really refreshing is when me and Matt go on YouTube and say, might have happened, and then get absolutely fucking banned for that episode.
Yeah.
Eat shit and die.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for example, I posted an episode today, and I streamed it on YouTube and Rumble simultaneously. 0 views on YouTube. Not a one. I've got 1,100 followers on there.
And Matt's dick was all over that episode. Yeah, there's no fucking way.
Like, it was the episode.
It was.
It was history of the meat packing industry, and it was just me packing my meat.
It was an hour and 55 minutes of Matt dick, and then he threw in some commentary about COVID.
Exactly.
It was fucking great.
And then on Rumble, I got 44 viewers on the live stream. And I was like, huh. And I've got, you know how many followers I have over there? 32. 32 total. So I had more views than I had followers on Rumble. And then where I have, I mean, not that it's a huge channel by any means, but 1,100 people it's a lot of people. And not a one of them watched my video. I wonder why that is.
Because they don't fucking like you, Matt. Get over it.
I know, but that all started with the COVID bullshit. Like, I was
tit fucker.
Yeah. So, anyways, after 3 years late, the U.S. government finally, they didn't really recognize. It was an internal memo. It was classified, and it got leaked from the Department of Energy that said that, the Wuhan lab was the most likely source of the COVID-19.
And you know what? They put a statement out there, and then the FBI had medium confidence, and this had low confidence. And it was explained to me that, well, you have those designations because nobody's been in to verify anything in China. So that's like the reason it's low confidence is because nobody actually is on the ground.
Right. Which should tell you something.
Nothing to see here.
And you know what? It's very telling that the U.S. government was just willing to go along with what China said with like no pushback at all. There's like, oh yeah, must have been natural origin. That's what China says. All of a sudden now that we're like beating the war drums with China too over Taiwan, they just 3 years of you saying like you were called a conspiracy theorist and a racist if you brought this up when all this first came out, and now they're like, no, that's probably the case.
Just another
China, right?
Another instance where college totally fucked me. I met Matt. He's turned me into fucking Ron Paul.
You're welcome. It's better for America. It's better for America.
You're a fucking menace, Matt McKinley. Fuck you.
I know. We haven't even talked about the Federal Reserve yet, so we'll save that for another. We'll save that for another episode.
Oh man, can we watch some funny clips? Because you just fucking depressed me with your fucking libertarian logic.
Oh, I'm gonna try to find. There was I was watching Bert Kreischer's podcast, and he had the Legion of Skanks guys on, and they had this clip of it was like some no-name Chicago comedian, and he walked off the fucking stage in the middle of his act. Like he just forgot where the edge of the stage was, and like mid-sentence fell off the stage. See if I can find it on.
Speaking of Chicago, little side note. How much of a fucking travesty is that? So apparently they had statewide testing in Chicago or Baltimore. Was it Baltimore or Chicago? One of them. 0% of the kids were proficient in math. An entire grade. And I'm guessing if it's Chicago or Baltimore, it's probably the size of DPS or larger. 0% proficiency. I can't remember if it was math or reading.
Jesus.
Like not one. Like I almost as a compliance data person, I'm like, you need to check in on your data person, because there's no fucking way. Not one kid. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
There is one bright note for Chicago though.
The elections tonight.
Lori Lightfoot, Beetlejuice is she up for election?
She is. There's 7 other people.
Nice.
And the guy who's leading in the polls is, everybody thinks he's like a Republican operative, but he's just like all for the police. Like that.
That's funny.
And he even said something to the extent like, "Oh yeah, jokingly, I'm a Republican operative," because he was so for the police.
Well, that's funny. Well, besides that, the one thing Chicago has going for him is, even though Brett Favre beat the shit out of them over and over throughout the years, turns out he's kind of a piece of shit, and now he's suing Pat McAfee for defamation over this.
Yeah, what was this about?
Well, we'll get into that, but you got to see this video.
I've been having a lot of sexual escapades as of late, like having little adventures with some freaky Chicago girls. And I've come to the realization, I've been talking to one, that I don't think pegging is necessarily that gay.
Is he dead? Okay.
I've been having a lot of sexual escapades as of late, like having little adventures with some freaky Chicago girls. And I've come to the realization, I've been talking to one, that I don't think pegging is necessarily that gay.
I mean, I hate to sound mean-spirited, but the way he's starting out his set, that might have been the best thing for him.
Honestly, because that might have been a funny joke, but just, the timing of it was perfect.
I've been having a lot of sexual escapades as of late, like having little adventures with some freaky Chicago girls. And I've come to the realization, I've been talking to one, that I don't think pegging is necessarily that gay.
Hold on. Question.
It's like how they have to pick his ass up.
Question.
He went down hard.
Question. What's pegging?
That's where your girl fucks you up the ass with a strap on.
Oh, no, that's not. No.
Cool. Doesn't that make it even funnier?
Oh, speaking of strap-ons, I've been inspired.
Oh.
So one of my friends, he's one of the new friends, we're starting to share stories. And he inspired me. So apparently he bought a strap-on dildo for one of his buddies' wives. And fucking apparently there's this shop where it's not most of the time, I guess when you order a strap-on, it's in some nondescript box.
Uh-huh.
But with this company, they make it very flamboyant, that there's a fucking strap on with the packaging. And shockingly, I didn't know this, Strap-ons are only $30.
Oh,
So my new goal in life is to pick one of you miserable fucks that are known as my friend, and every Valentine's Day, I'm gonna send a different person a fucking strap-on. Like every Valentine's Day, it's fucking happening. So
there was one episode I did with George, and we were talking about the chocolate dicks that you could send to somebody.
yes,
And it turns out you can take a mold of your asshole and get that
Yeah.
made as chocolate as well.
are they called
And
chocolate starfish?
I think they just called them chocolate buttholes, but and then George was on that episode and we were talking about that, and then later on, one of our mutual friends from CSU saw him at the sale barn that George owns, and he's like, "Hey, are you gonna pay me in chocolate buttholes or what?" I'm sure George had been like, "Fuck, shit, don't need to go on that podcast anymore."
Right? Was that why George isn't on? He doesn't want to hurt the brand?
It's George is the busy dude, but yeah, it's
Did George finish college?
oh yeah, he graduated the same semester I did.
Oh, did he? I
Yeah.
just know that we all struggled that first semester, but George was a party animal.
I don't want to talk out of turn, but I think maybe his dad has donated some money to CSU from time to time.
And you know what? Fucking for all the stereotypes about rich kid or kids who have rich parents, George is none of them. George is
No.
nicest dude on planet Earth.
Well,
I
George
trust
fucking
George.
hustles too. Like,
Yeah, he did.
George works like for however it happened. I'm like I said, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I know that George got a degree from CSU, and whether he rightfully earned it or not, I don't care. He's a good fucking dude, and that guy works his ass off. I mean, like he's a good fucking guy. I've always liked George. I always will. Like he's a good dude. He's treated me good, and we've been buddies for almost 20 years now. Like,
And I wish I could say that George had perfected the art form of picking up women, but for George, it's a total numbers game, or was a total numbers game.
mm-hmm. He played the odds.
He asked out 49 women, and they turned him down, and not a shred of pride was hurt because he knew that 50th. They were pretty good looking women.
Yeah,
just gotta find one.
It was me and George had that same kind of mindset on rejection. It's like my wife's like, I don't know how you just go ask these like kind of famous people to be on your podcast. I was like, what's the worst they're gonna do is tell me no when their security moves me out of the way? That's the worst that's gonna happen. So like, there's no harm in asking. There's no harm in trying, because like, I don't know, rejection don't mean shit to me.
See, Matt's go-to move is he asks you to do something, you say no, and then he pulls out the peppered fox, and you're stunned. You're like, yep, tell me what to do.
Yeah, I flash the old beehole, and people say, all right, I'll give it a shot.
And if you're really special, he'll shave the beehole for you.
Yeah, I mean, then you got to be pretty goddamn special. That's a pain in the ass, literally. We didn't even plan that. We did not even plan that.
I am so sending a strap on to one of you fuckers next year. It's fucking happening.
You should send it to Brad. I just want to see Kristen be like, what is wrong with your friends?
Who should it be from? Like, let's make up a name. What was that cop's name? What was that cop's name that was in the gangbang that we thought was the best porno name?
Oh, Seneca Shields. Seneca Shields.
Your secret admirer, Seneca Shields.
We probably better not send it to Rob, because Emily might use it on him. I mean, that's a legit possibility.
She will wear that butthole out. Might as well get that chocolate butthole before she starts destroying it.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna
wrecked.
spend a shitload of money on chocolate. That thing's gonna be stretched out, dude.
After Emily's done with him, his chocolate butthole is gonna be a bowl.
I'm not gonna do the search because I don't want to know the answer, but I'm gonna ask the question.
Okay.
Are there prolapsed chocolate buttholes? I already know the answer that I don't want to know, so I'm just, like I said, I'm not gonna search that one.
You don't want to see how that sausage is made?
Nope, I do not. No, that's sausage I'm gonna stay away from.
That's odd. I've never
male
heard you
or
say
female,
I'm gonna stay.
like male or
female. I've never heard you say I'm going to stay away from that sausage.
No, you haven't, but you will on that one. That's that one. I'm just fine not knowing. Like I'm fine asking the question, but like I said, I don't really want to know the answer, and I live by that rule for the most part. Like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
It's not about butthole pleasures.
Not about butthole pleasures at all.
No.
Have you seen the trailer for Cocaine Bear?
Yes, but you can pull it up.
We shall. You know what? We will. I want to watch it. It seems like a funny comedy.
One thing we got to do watch party on is Toxic Avenger 2.
Yes.
Toxic, like I rewatched Toxic Avenger 1 with Jake. He got to experience it. You know, that movie kind of peters off towards the end. I don't think Toxic Avenger 2 does. It just goes full fucking throttle, Charlie's Angels.
Nice.
Through the whole movie.
Awesome. All right. I think we're maybe. There we are.
Ooh, he's going to eat the dog?
Today is going to be the best.
Oh, that's Strays.
That's Strays. Yeah, that.
Ready?
Oh, Jesus. What is that?
You see the bear chattering his teeth.
Beth, we should Millions of dollars worth of cocaine fell from the sky this morning in Knoxville, Tennessee.
There's more of this out there. They dumped it somewhere.
I'm looking for my daughter.
Forest is a dangerous place.
Hey, Henry, check it out. Something got into it. A deer, maybe?
A lot of cocaine was lost. I need you to
Oh, Ray Liotta.
No, don't eat that, don't eat that. Let's see what kind of effect that has on you.
The bear, it fucking did cocaine. A bear did cocaine.
There was a bear.
A bear?
It was Mark.
Hey, that's inappropriate.
Oh.
You're safe. Bears can't climb trees.
Of course I can.
Baby.
Oh shit.
It kind of seems like the thing that stays with the man forever.
Apex predator. High on cocaine. Out of his mind. Oh man, you fucked.
What the fuck is wrong with that bear?
Baby.
Shoot it, man.
Baby.
Bear, speed up.
Higher, baby. And don't ever come down.
We have such good luck in nature.
I'm sure that is very loosely based off of something, but that looks awesome.
It is, yeah, very loosely based off of a true story, but Is it stupid? Fuck yes, it is. But like, they're trying to be funny, and it feels like nobody's been trying to make funny movies for. When's the last one you saw? Like truly, like gut laugh funny.
Dude, it'd have to be college days.
Or like, or shortly after, like the other guys or some shit like that, you know.
But nothing to the extent of like Strange Wilderness or Grandma's Boy
or
Step Brothers
or any of the Jackasses.
Yeah,
like remember going to the theater and watching Jackass, and it was just nothing but dudes just having the best time of their life watching some other dude get kicked in the nuts.
And it was a movie theater full of just bros out with their bros.
Everybody was drunk and everybody was laughing their ass off. It was the closest thing to a watching Bill Burr. I would imagine. It's just like it was so funny. Jackass in their prime. Like, I've never laughed harder.
I would never use a card throwing machine on you, McKinley. Ever.
And the stupid shit like that. That was such a throwaway line. But
are you crying? Are you crying? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking snake, dude. Fucking cobra, dude. Or the Jackass 3D, when they had the flying dildo in 3D, that made me laugh so goddamn hard.
You know what the most disappointing thing about that movie, though? When they did the scene with the golden dildo on the carnival fucking ringer.
Like the strongman hammer deal.
I feel like they should have done another take because it like glanced off.
Yeah, it hit butt cheek. It didn't hit anus.
Right, like he's still able to send out chocolate buttholes.
Yeah,
I was wanting the bowl cut.
I was too, but I mean, it was still pretty damn funny. It was like,
it was.
Do we need a dildo? Let's go on a dildo run, guys.
My God.
Let's go on a dick run.
I am so fucking maybe I'm sending 2 dicks next year. I'm so excited about that. I can't believe I didn't fucking get this inspiration by Valentine. I'm going to have to wait a whole year. Yes, answer.
If we send a strap on to Tim, will Les use it on him?
No, Tim will use it on Les.
You think so? Well, yeah, you got to make up some ground there.
Okay, maybe we wait a year, and our episode is full of picking what we're going to send to and who we're going to send to.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
You might be getting one at Christmas, McKinley.
All right. Well, please send it in discreet packaging. I've got young kids. If it wasn't for the kids, I wouldn't care.
Okay, so there you go. You already put a ground rule down. We only send it to people who don't have kids.
Or if you send it to people with kids, it's got to be in nondescript packaging.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with sending it to people with kids, but it doesn't need to show the picture on the box. No, I mean for childless people, yes, that's fair game. But just for decency's sake, not with kids around.
I'm excited. I'm so excited for this.
That's like sending a stripper to your buddy at work. I mean, it's funny, like really funny, but also kind of fucked up too. You're like, yeah, unless you got a job form that pays more lined up after you send it, that's kind of fucked up, you know. But
I'm having flashbacks of when me and Tim fucking put up on Facebook that Pipkin was getting married.
Oh yeah, well,
then they broke up 3 weeks later.
I think the only time I've ever lost to Tim in fantasy football was when we made the bet where he could change my my Facebook status for a week, or he could Oh, it was brutal. My wife almost didn't go out on our first date with me over that. Yeah, it was.
And yet she did.
She did.
What was her logic? What was her logic?
She's like, this has to be some sort of joke or a bet, and she didn't ask me till I mean, it was like a month later or something like that. But I was like, fantasy football bet, and I never agreed to those terms again. Like that was never agreed to those terms again. And you know what I should have done is, I don't know if that was an option on Facebook again, as I should have posted the status, but only to be seen by Tim and not shareable. So,
right.
And he would thought it.
Why is there nobody commenting on these?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's because you're not funny, Tim.
So Jake was in town last weekend.
Who was?
Jake.
Oh yeah.
And we were watching something, and I turned on my PlayStation. Nick and Tim were over. And what does Tim see but that picture of him in that makeup? Every profile is that fucking picture. Like on my video games, like everything, some things online, like that is, it's so good. And he did it.
It's so funny. Him. And he didn't like take a glam shot or anything. Like he got all dolled up and took a terrible picture.
I wouldn't usually spread this around, but since Tim fucking always complains about us but never actually listens to the show, let's show this picture. It's so good.
Yeah.
Here, I got it right here.
All right, text it to me and I'll pop it up. We'll probably end the regular portion for that. Come back for the Patreon. Soon as we get we can watch this little video again because I enjoyed it immensely.
I've been having a lot of sexual escapades, like having little adventures with some freaky Chicago girls. And I've come to the realization, I've been talking to one, that I don't think pegging is necessarily that gay.
Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Amazing. Oh, that's funny.
Sorry, folks. We had to bring this up. So, our buddy Tim once again lost the bet to yours truly, and the stipulation was that you had to just get dolled up, and the other person has sole exclusive rights to distribute this however they want. Now, usually, if I'm feeling generous, I won't show this around, but since Tim always fucking talks about the show but never actually listens to the show, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mrs. Martin.
It's not letting me pop it up.
Goddamn.
We'll just make it. We'll make it the podcast cover. So when I post it up, that'll be the picture that we show.
You know what? That motherfucker, he's gonna listen to the show now.
Yep, he will.
Which is awesome because we came to this part like almost towards the end. So that fucking dumb motherfucker's gonna have to hear all the bullshit before.
I know it. That's what I love about it. And then we'll end the main show on there, and I'll see if I can't pop it up on the screen for the Patreon only. But if not, it'll be on the cover for this episode. So
yes.
I'm about to piss my pants. So move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Eat shit, Tim.
Your eyes up in the morning beneath star so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done